I can say is there is a different energy with mushrooms than ayahuasca. And it's not that like one's better than the other, they're different. And one of the main takeaways that I've started to find with mushrooms lately is that it's almost more, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it's more of like a trickster energy where they're more of like jokesters and stuff like that. There's not like the strict lessons that you come away with ayahuasca. There's teachings for sure, but I was joking around with Kimberly because she likes to give me a lot of lists. You know, Kimberly, our marketing manager, she's always giving me lists of things to do every week. And when I was a kid, like my mom would always give me lists, you know, like I don't know what it is, but ayahuasca gives me stuff to do, and it will give me a list of things to do. And if I don't check every single one of those boxes, it's going to circle back to that the next time I see it. You know, it's like you didn't start the podcast yet. You didn't go and get Luna yet. Like you've got to do all this stuff, and we'll give you more things to do that is going to be extremely valuable. But mushrooms doesn't do that. Mushrooms is...
I'm glad you said that, because that's kind of like what I was feeling, what was going to happen, because our experience with the mushrooms, and just to tie everything in for those who are listening with the purpose of ARRAKIS and getting more information on that, we had only met once, and we start this journey, and we're immediately, it was like when you flick what are those drawings called when you just like flip the edge of the page and it's really, really fast?
Oh, animation.
Stories. Yeah, so it was like animation of many, many, many lives. It wasn't animated, it was real lives. You could feel every life. Like I could see Neil and I knowing each other, not knowing each other, losing each other, coming back, a life without each other, a life finding each other. And it was like going on for such a long time. And I had to like sit up at one point, not really wanting to speak, but having to say, are you seeing this too?
That was a crazy thing, is that we were having the exact same experience.
And it's in my mycelium.
Yeah. I guess that's it. All right, we are here with the wonderful Chrys Landeros, my friend. She has become a colleague of sorts. Really, really excited to have you. Welcome.
Well, first of all, we're doing it. Like, we're doing it, man. Like, we've been talking about it for so long.
Yeah. We've got a little bit of a
wild ride, because we're going to go all over the place.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. First and foremost, have you tried Liquid Death? This is not an advertisement, by the way.
Is that the fizzy one?
Yeah.
Carbony?
Yeah, I thought that these were like beers for like the longest time, but it's just water. My friend from art school, I haven't seen him in 20 years, right? Like he was just like on like YouTube, like I saw him on this like Liquid Death like promo, and they're like, this is Mike, blah 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 blah. He started Liquid Death, and I was just like, you used to live next to me in Dana Point. Like now he's like fucking got like one of the biggest water companies on the planet. He was a graphic designer, and he just made like a bomb can. He basically just like carbon copied like a beer can and then just put like water in it. And
Liquid Death, if you need another, advocate for your brand, let me stop drinking basic bitch water.
No, this is mango chainsaw. I mean, it's subtle. It's subtle, but you can taste the chainsaw a little bit.
I mean, you really should be. They should be a sponsor at this point now.
Yeah. I'll reach out to Mike and see what he says. Anyway, so let's talk about, before we've got some retreats and stuff like that Chrys is planning, and we can talk about that. Turn this little bad boy on, just get some footage for Instagram. Basically, we had a really interesting, I would say, journey on mushrooms, probably about, was that 3 months ago now that we were out in Joshua Tree?
I think so. It feels like a long time ago and simultaneously not a long time ago. Weird.
No, everything is... I have this this theory that time has actually sped up, because it seems as though time goes a lot quicker than it did when we were kids. I mean, like a week, a day, like seconds, like an hour will go by. I'll just be on my phone. I'm like, an hour, like an entire hour of my life is gone. I can never get it back. So it was a few months ago, and full disclosure, I had not done mushrooms since I had left Costa Rica, which was about a year before we embarked on our journey. So it was special on multiple levels. The last journey that I'd taken was a hero's journey. It was I took a half of an ounce, 14 grams. And that was like such a full reset that there was like, first and foremost, like there was like 12 hours on the journey in Costa Rica where like it was out of body travel, like full, life review kind of situation. And then, and then like 2 weeks of like serious integration to kind of come back down to ground zero. So at that point, I basically was like, I'm not going to do anything I didn't plan on doing it for a year, but it was like a full year of just like no cannabis, like no alcohol, a tiny bit here and there, but it was really one of these things to where like every time I drank a beer or every time like I embarked on one of those substances, cannabis or whatever, it was like one of these things where I was just like, like this is just, it's not a fit right now.
It has no purpose. Like it has no purpose.
Yeah, I think what happens, Chrys, is that these psychedelics, whether it's plant medicine or in our case with the mushroom journey, I think what it starts to do is it starts to rewire your brain, and you can deal with trauma that is actually the fuel for all of these things, like these obsessive compulsive disorders that we have in our lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like absolutely.
So we had a
really beautiful that you had such a long break because you were so deeply immersed in like plant medicine experience from the moment that we were supposed to meet. So like for everybody out there, like our meeting journey was rooted in Costa Rica, like many of the ARRAKIS tribe. So like the kind of like the spearheads of the ARRAKIS tribe, most of us have come together because of Nosara, because of Costa Rica. And Neil and I kept passing each other in Costa Rica. I was there, he was gone. I was gone, he was there. And at one point we were supposed to live together, and I got called back to the States. The company reopened. I decided to come back and go back to work. So we met like in Santa Monica. It had like this random like hangout, and you were still like in major space cadet mode. You were still kind of and surrounded by, we'll call them aliens for like that. You don't have to get super into it. You were surrounded by certain company, and we had a great like night and dinner and just like kind of hung out, and then just didn't speak for like a year. Like it was.
Well, I went back. I went back to Costa Rica, so I was down there for a couple of years, and you essentially like I went down during like the height of like 2020, like just like full like November 2020, full chaos mode. Drank a bunch of plant medicine, and then got very strict instructions to go back to the United States. Well, first it was like go back to Nosara, right? Like I drank ayahuasca at Rhythmia, and it was like, then it like on the medicine, it was clear as day, clear as talking to you right now. It was like, go back to Nosara for 2 more weeks, hang out there, and then go back to the United States, get your dog, and then come back, right? Yeah. So in between when I was like going back to the United... What's that?
And we didn't meet during that. We met after you were done, and then you went East Coast.
Yeah, but what happened was you were living with one of my friends from Rhythmia, and I was back getting Luna in California. I had to drive all the way out to Utah and then come back to California. And it took me like, I had to like pack up my house. Like I had to do like a whole bunch of stuff. And like, it took me like 6 weeks to do that. And when I was doing that, you were having your like inaugural excursion down in Nosara. And somehow, you know, it's a small community there, but you definitely met up with the whole crew, you know, like everybody that we're affiliated with down there right now. And then when I got back to Nosara, it was like you were gone, you know? So somehow we circled back, and long story short, we had very similar experiences, even though we were like kind of like parallel to each other, but not. They were just like slightly separate times.
It was like parallel and then above and below. It was connection. So then we just kind of like we were doing a lot of self-work separately after we met. And it was like this really, and this might speak to a lot of people out there, where you meet somebody and you kind of want or need more of them. Like this was not that. It was this lovely encounter of like, wow, what a great human. Now let me go back and do my work. Like, let me go back and do my reading and do my meditation and keep exploring. And it's like, I have this amazing human that I've met with zero expectation. And then suddenly, like a year later, you're like, hey, I'm like back in the States. I'm back on the West Coast, gonna be in Joshua Tree. Haven't been back in a while. Do you feel like going to Joshua Tree? You didn't know this, but I'm telling all my coworkers, I need to run away. Like, I'm like, okay, I've been grinding. I need to go to the desert for like even just a day, just to reset. And then you text me. It was so wild. I'm like, Friday, this weekend. And that's what happened. So I went out, and you had just gone to your Airbnb. And it was just this like a lot of clarity. It was a place that was foreign and welcoming to both of us. You hadn't done plant medicine or psilocybin for like a year. I was just like doing like work of the world and work in the spiritual, like just trying to find, you know, more consciousness. And so we came in with this like very light, you want to do shrooms? Yeah, okay, I'll pick some up. And I picked them up, and we didn't even do this whole thing. We just put them into our vessels, laid there for about 0.2 seconds, and the ceiling just opened up.
They were good. And we also
big girl Lala.
yeah. We also did what I've started to see is that when you use them with intention, you know, I mean, we weren't taking mushrooms and going out to a festival or something like that. Like, we were grounding for the night. We were in a safe place. There was like not going to be any interruptions. We had like an amazing like just medicine music playlist going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything was kind of set up for like basically like a ceremony, but a ceremony for like two people. And what I found, what's that? And Luna, yeah, my dog. Essentially what I found with the mushrooms, you know, it was really through some people at you know, in Samara who were like, you know, like when you go back to the United States, when you're not here at even if you're in Costa Rica, you should work with mushrooms. You know, like a lot of the people, a lot of the medicine team and stuff like that at Jungle and Samara, were saying that like they're going to similar places with the mushrooms that they're getting to with ayahuasca. Now, the caveat there is it is different, you know, like it is a little bit of a different energy. One of the things, because you're going to be drinking next week, like you're going to be down there in a week from now, which is crazy. One of the things I can say is there is a different energy with mushrooms than ayahuasca. And it's not that like one's better than the other, they're different. And one of the main takeaways that I've started to find with mushrooms lately is that it's almost more, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it's more of like a trickster energy where they're more of like jokesters and stuff like that. There's not like the strict lessons that you come away with ayahuasca. There's teachings for sure, but I was joking around with Kimberly because she likes to give me a lot of lists. You know, Kimberly, our marketing manager, she's always giving me lists of things to do every week. And when I was a kid, like my mom would always give me lists, you know, like I don't know what it is, but ayahuasca gives me stuff to do, and it will give me a list of things to do. And if I don't check every single one of those boxes, it's going to circle back to that the next time I see it. You know, it's like, you didn't start the podcast yet. You didn't go and get Luna yet. Like, you've got to do all this stuff, and we'll give you more things to do that is going to be extremely valuable. But mushrooms doesn't do that. Mushrooms is...
I'm glad you said that, because that's kind of like what I was feeling, what was going to happen, because our experience with the mushrooms, and just to tie everything in for those who are listening with the purpose of ARRAKIS and getting more information on that, we had only met once, and we start this journey, and we're immediately, it was like when you flick a what are those drawings called when you just like flip the edge of the page and it's really, really fast?
Oh, animation.
Stories. Yeah, so it was like animation of many, many, many lives. It wasn't animated, it was real lives. You could feel every life. Like, I could see Neil and I knowing each other, not knowing each other, losing each other, coming back, a life without each other, a life finding each other. And it was like going on for such a long time. And I had to like sit up at one point, not really wanting to speak, but having to say, are you seeing this too?
That was a crazy thing, is that we were having the exact same experience.
And it's the mycelium.
Yeah. I guess that's it. It's the mycelium network. The first time I'd experienced that, Chrys, was with my other friend, Chrys, my guy friend, Chrys, and we were actually taking this was 10 years ago. We were taking mushrooms, we went on a hike behind my house, in Laguna Beach. And we were walking along this top of a canyon on a fire road, and we were both like deep, you know, like we were like peaking, and we both just stopped abruptly, and we're looking at the ground. And I remember taking my phone out, and I was like, I got to take a picture of this, because there's like all of this writing on the ground. It was all like illuminated. I saw it, and Chrys saw it. My friend Chrys saw it, and it was like this like ancient Egyptian alien, like beautiful Mayan kind of like script on the ground that was all illuminated. And he's like, dude, you can't take a picture of that, like, because like we're hallucinating this, we're envisioning this, right? But the fact of the matter was, we both saw it. It stopped us abruptly, and we're both trying to decipher what it is that we see on the ground, but we were connected.
I firmly believe that it's like we rely on our physical vision so much, and it's our third eye that really shows us the things that really connect us. So that was both of you seeing something that your physical sight could not see, but your spiritual connected selves could see.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah, so it's like that mycelium connection. And so, you know, going back to ARRAKIS, slightly like very shortly before you and I had this experience, and I shared this with you, I was like in my little studio, and a friend of mine who gives me weed, and I don't smoke a lot of weed because it kind of just makes me lazy. But when it's something that is personally grown, I take time, and I had like a plate of mangoes, and I had this whole thing. Like anything I do, I usually do with a lot of intention. And I literally took one puff. So it's not like I was high, nothing. And I was leaning back, and I had a plate of mangoes on this knee, and I was leaning on this knee, and I was holding this joint. And as I'm like sitting there, I see myself looking at myself. I see my previous life looking at me, and she's just like so amused. Like, oh, we've done this before. Like, we've worked hard for many, many lives, and you have experienced these gifts from people who love you. And you like, and I saw like a whole vision of like platters of fruit and like
Julius Caesar.
Yeah, like
feeding you grapes and fanning you and stuff.
Fast forward, like I'm in Mexico City, and I see like this pipe that I saw in my vision in a natural history museum in Mexico City that I'd never seen before. So then going on our journey, again, for our ARRAKIS people, at one point, not knowing about anything that you're working on yet, not knowing about the NFTs, not knowing about the art, not knowing about the connection with Om Jungle, with plant medicine, I remember sitting up and not wanting to be like presumptuous, because my energy, my way of being is always like, Yes, and I just try to adapt to people so they can receive what I'm trying to give, kind of like playing it cool, but I don't play it cool. And I remember sitting up and looking at you saying, like, you've done this before and you're doing it now, and you're gonna change the world and how people change their lives, and I'm gonna be a part of it. And I had no idea what it was. I just saw it in previous lives. And even in the vision that you had, sorry friend, sorry ARRAKIS tribe, but even in the vision that you had where your heart was ripped out of your chest by an Aztec tribe, and I was like, sorry about that, like, my bad. Sorry that happened. But like, seeing that, I'm like, I'm going to be a part of it. And it wasn't so much that I was asking, I just felt like I'm so drawn to this. Then the next day we have breakfast and you tell me the whole layout. And I start like thinking of like my goal of trying to have people explore the world, not just vacation, but immerse themselves in culture, expand their consciousness with other lifestyles, with other cultures. And then knowing that I have something to contribute, I don't know exactly how, and it just cultivated and grew over the following weeks and months. And now here we are with a
yeah. It's kind of crazy the way like everything's been manifesting, and to just kind of like let people know who aren't in the know right now is that ARRAKIS at its core is actually a project that is uniting various communities, and not just plant medicine communities, but plant medicine is definitely at the heart of what we're doing. But we're also uniting yoga communities and just health and wellness in general, right? People who are interested in expanding consciousness, teachers, facilitators. We're working with retreat centers like Om Jungle, and essentially about, I don't know, it was a little over a year ago now. I started having I've been immersed in the NFT world for a while. And around the exact same time I got immersed in the NFT world, I also got immersed in the plant medicine community. And what I started to notice was that both of these groups of people had very robust, very tight-knit communities. And it was one of these things to where, like, I was like, this is a way to kind of, NFTs are kind of like a way to implement technology in uniting people and allowing them to communicate. There's a lot of problems in the NFT world. There's a lot of problems in the NFT world right now. But one of the main things that I've seen happening, even through all the chaos that we're like going through right now, is that the art that started off as these NFTs is now like uniting like people from all over the world, and it's taking people from this like digital virtual world that we're all in, you know, social media and discords and just like Web3 and like all of this stuff. And it's bringing people out of that to these IRL events, right? These in real life events. And I've had the privilege of being able to go to some of them, like in New York City, and meet up with people that I've known for like, you know, some people I've known for years, but just haven't been able to meet. And now we're like, you know, at a really cool club in the city, and we're all hanging out, and then we get even more connected because we actually spent like a weekend together, right? Which is very similar to what I've experienced, even more so, but with the plant medicine world, what you're going to experience next week when you sit with ayahuasca. What you're going to see is that like there's going to be this like group of people that you've never met before. You might know some of them, like Angel, you know, some of our friends and stuff like that are affiliated with us, but the vast majority of the people in your ceremony you're not going to know. You're going to have a connection with those people at the end of your series of ceremonies, whether it's 2 nights or it can be a whole week. You solidify and develop this connection with these people that I can only explain happens in the natural world with like your really, really good friends, like people that you've been friends with for a long time, that you have a history with, you have trust with, or your family, right?
And even then, I don't feel like that's a guarantee. Like that's not Like, you're very lucky and blessed to have like a rooted family and longtime friends, but that's not like common. I think like the rooted connection through plant medicine is one and of its own. Like, it's a completely different root, literally.
Your natural family.
Yeah, it's a rooted connection. It's a connection that is beyond like the physical space.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was one of the things that I told you, and we were going on our journey, and I was like, you're simultaneously indigenous and tribal and futuristic and tech all at the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
A is when you told me about the NFT, connection. So the beauty of this project is that you don't have to know all the things. That's one of the beautiful things about it. Like, once like you shed ego and you realize, I don't have to know everything. It's actually very joyful and free to say, I kind of don't know anything in the grand scheme of the universe. All I know for sure is that we're kind of all made up of atoms and we're all just stardust, and I don't have to know all the things. All I have to know is that I'm desirous to learn. So even if you know nothing of NFTs and you know nothing about retreats and you know nothing about traveling, you can have this community that's willing and excited to be your guides and to be your teachers. And that's what we're doing. So even people on the retreaters, you don't even know this yet, most of you, you're actually getting 3 NFTs. I'm not even talking about it yet because it's going to make people nervous and they think they have to learn about NFTs. You don't. It's just there if you want to. Just like you don't have to know everything about plant medicine. You don't. That's why we're here. That's why we're building such a spearheaded tribe where it's not just one. Like, Neil is the founder of this tribe, but boy, is he collecting like spearhead leaders to be able to guide and, trickle down that information. And it just keeps going and keeps growing and keeps getting deeper and deeper rooted. So our community is vast. My goal is to be able to have people who are desirous experience what we have had the opportunity to experience. And that's to be able to live this existence of freedom with the circadian rhythm of waking up to the sunrise and dancing in the moonlight and being surrounded by a community that completely supports you. An intelligent community, not just intelligent with logic, but intelligent with heart and spirit. So everything I'm putting together involves all of those things: the adventure, the meditation, the food, the yoga practice, the physical practice, the surfing, the community, all the things. Like, you can have all the things. Like, you don't
let's expand on that a little bit, because what Chrys has done is taken, so essentially there's the NFT, right, which is we've got a few different projects that are coming out, but the first one is the ARRAKIS Pass, and the ARRAKIS Pass is limited to 1111. One of the really unique things that I've seen with NFTs is that one of the ways that the community is united is it's united through the Discord. So Discord, for those of you that don't know, it's almost like the old school chat rooms that we used to have, with like AOL and stuff like that. They've expanded on it so that it's actually, you can have like different channels, for different topics and stuff like that. But essentially, the ARRAKIS community is going to be united virtually around this Discord, in which we're going to be planning all of the events. Chrys actually is taking the first events, which are going to be in January of 2024. And instead of just having your ARRAKIS Pass being able to admit you to in real life plant medicine ceremonies at Om Jungle, so each ARRAKIS Pass will allow holders to sit in ceremony at Om Jungle. So if you have one pass, you can sit for one ceremony. If you buy 2, 3, that's how many ceremonies you can sit for. What Chrys has actually done is taken that concept and expanded on it to give holders the entire experience that Chrys and I were mentioning earlier in the podcast that we experienced down in Nosara. So the ceremonies are actually going to take place in Samara, which is right next to Nosara at Om Jungle. And then everyone who's on, we're not calling it a retreat, we're calling it a journey, right? So everyone who's on Chrys's, journey, it's about a 9-day excursion. The first 3 to 4 of those days, you're going to actually be immersed in plant medicine at home, drinking in the Maloka, hanging out with your tribe. And then once those several days are up, you're actually going to be going to Nosara to experience this full on vortex energy. It's crazy. Like everybody there that we are affiliated with is living their best life. They're just avatars of human beings,
Yeah.
So Chrys and I both, even though we were there in Nosara at different times, we were both experiencing this very similar energy, which just almost didn't seem real, like we live in Southern California. So it's it's already, pretty unreal place to live here in Southern California. And then when you go to Nosara, Costa Rica, and you're riding quads through the jungle and there's waterfalls and just beautiful people and everybody's super high vibrational, expanding their consciousness and surfing, and you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, just naturally, your circadian rhythm just starts to change. And there's just all these amazing places to eat and hang out and do yoga and just live your best life. Chrys actually started taking that and was I'm going to package this and we're going to offer this to ARRAKIS. So it's not just an NFT. It's not just an IRL ceremony. Basically everything's figured out, just hop on a plane and get to Liberia, Costa Rica, and then the rest is taken care of, right?
Yeah. So to break it down, because I know it gets confusing for NFT holders, if when you're oh, I get one NFT and I get all of this. Not quite, right? So you get one NFT, you buy your NFT, you're part of the ARRAKIS tribe, you're part of the Discord group. We're going to continue to put more facilitators, more links, more events. So this way you have all this accessibility at your fingertips and you're part of our community. The retreat, the total cost of the retreat, when you're looking at this total number, you look at this total number, and in that number, within it, you have 3 NFTs right out the gate because we're sitting for 3 nights. So that takes care of your own jungle experience. And then it also takes care of your whole experience in Nosara at Ride On. Shout out to Chung. Love you. Then going to Ride On and staying on in a more immersive life, living your best self. Right.
Ride On is a beautiful boutique hotel.
And that's the first place I ever stood when I got to, and just for everybody to have my background a little bit, the reason why I believe in joining these two, even though stay tuned, maybe we'll do another episode post Aya, because I'm sitting with Aya in less than 2 weeks. I'll be out in Om Jungle because I would never ask anybody to do anything I haven't done first. But prior to going to Nosara, I had made some tough decisions and uncomfortable decisions in my life. And once I decided to make those moves, the whole universe just blossomed like a lotus flower and just revealed so many things to me. So for those who are curious about plant medicine, have a whole team for you. So when you go do the work, it's almost like you are going to blossom, and then I'm taking you to Nosara, where you can feel how truly open you are. And when you're open with no fear of vulnerability, the energy can flow right through you. And I know that sounds woo-woo. Some of you are on me with the woo-woo. Some of you are in the NFT world, but guess what? It's all one. It's all completely connected. So just know that if you start to inquire about the retreats, that whole number, that whole price point includes your 3 NFTs, includes your meals, includes, several of the excursions, includes your stay and your lodging at Om and at Ride On. I don't want you to have to think of the logistics to a certain extent. I just want you to say yes and know that you are taken care of and supported. That's my role.
And Chrys, it's really important too to note that integration is really a critical component of plant medicine. So in the plant medicine world, right, they'll say that Aya will meet you halfway. And it's going to do 50% of the work, and then you have to do the other 50%. So a lot of that has to do with like, what is your lifestyle like? You know, like obviously you have to have you have to like get rid of a certain amount of toxicities if they're present in your life, whether it's recreational or pharmaceutical drugs. Those have got to be gone. You know, and OM does its due diligence, you know, screening everybody before they come and they sit with plant medicine just to make sure that none of that stuff is going to be an issue. But then afterwards, you're going to notice instantly that there's a lot of big shifts that have taken place. There's a massive reset. It's like, you know, shutting your computer off when it's not working, and then all of a sudden you reset it, and then everything just starts working better again, right? Like now that everything's optimized, how can we continue to promote that? And your diet and your daily activities and the people around you are really, really important too. So you're going to have a lot of high vibrational people around you. You're going to be connected to those people through technology, and you'll also be immersed with them in this very, like what you're saying, like it's a vulnerable time. You've just like shed, you know, this skin. You've like got rid of like all the stuff that's not serving you now. And now like all of a sudden, like, it's like, what do you do next? Are you hopping on a plane going back to New York? Or are you going to actually like immerse yourself in this community? It's not to say that like hopping on a plane and going to New York is a bad idea. It's just, there's certain things that can, there's certain things that can, I've said this before that like, if you absolutely have to like get back to your life, do it, you know, like go immerse yourself, you know, for a week and drink plant medicine and do your thing. But if you have the opportunity to stay in South America or stay in Central America, like in Costa Rica for, you know, like a week, and just kind of like integrate all of these teachings and just kind of like relax, you know, before you go back to your daily grind, it's very beneficial. And that's kind of like this thing that you've put together with, you know, all of these activities. There's yoga, there's, you know, a personal chef, you have, you know, dinners and all kinds of like excursions to like all of these amazing. Nosara is probably one of the easiest places to integrate. And I've said this before that like I was super, super blessed just in my life in general that I had the opportunity to spend really a couple years integrating in Nosara. But right after I was done with my first plant medicine week, I went back to Nosara, and it's just like everything's, you've got restaurants there in Nosara where if you want to continue eating plant-based, there's multiple options, and they're amazing. You've got fresh juices every day, and it was just the perfect place to kind of integrate. And you and I have kind of collaborated on this, and we're like, well, let's kind of like format this so that other people can experience this as well. And that's kind of where the Nosara comes in.
A big no is the community is amazing. And we're not talking about like the community, us going. I'm talking about the Ticas and the Ticos, the people who are from there. And
expats that are living there.
Well, I mean more the indigenous people that are from there. You don't go many places that are just completely open and welcome. Like they really, really welcome you. So a concept of this as well, and also to speak to Kimberly, who not only does the marketing, but she's very passionate about conservation and, you know, hosting this retreat in Costa Rica in Nosara to honor the energy of Nosara, to really honor the energy of that community that is rooted there, that is allowing us to experience the magical vortex of that community, the soil, the dirt, the plants, you know, so to step in with that mentality. So we are still going to be doing integration the months leading into the retreat. So you'll be able to we'll have a few discussions and couple live Zooms, just to get everybody in the concept of like, just be ready for so much more than a vacation. This is not checking into an all-inclusive and, you know, getting a sunburn at the pool because you drank too much. This is not that at all. So here's the beauty of like when you open yourself up to do the work, it's going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to make it through the discomfort, and you're going to discover the change and the consciousness. And there is no turning back after that. There's no turning back. You're going to crave it. Your spirit is literally going to crave it. It's going to want expansion. It's going to want knowledge. And the beauty is that you're going to have this community, myself included, Neil included, that just wants to continue to share. We do the work to be of service. We do the work every day to be of service every single day. Wake up, meditate, read, eat well, move your body so that we can be of service. So we are so excited to have people joining the tribe. So just know it's you're gonna be well taken care of. Like you're wanted.
Well, the other thing too that's really interesting is that kind of like I referred to earlier, the plant medicine community is intertwined with a lot of other communities that we're affiliated with, right? Like the yoga community, the meditation community, just health and wellness in general. And doesn't mean that like everybody who's doing yoga is doing plant medicine, but those two groups of people very often are intermingling. They're very simpatico. And something that I've kind of been experimenting with in my life and noticing, I've been doing some research on it, but essentially one of the things that you'll notice with ayahuasca especially is that after you've sat with Aya, you'll notice that there's like certain things in your life that just you just kind of flow into a lot easier. And one of the key things that I've seen is meditation. Your meditation is going to be super, super deep. I don't fully know why. If there's anybody out there who does, I would love to talk about that. But basically, like if you're meditating, if you've got a contemplative practice where you're in seated meditation every single day, you're spending a half an hour in the morning and a half an hour at night in contemplative meditation, you'll find that after a period of time, and the longer that you do it, the easier it's going to be to kind of just like get centered and to like go into that space with some depth. When you drink ayahuasca, one of the key takeaways that you'll see like instantly is those meditations are going to be profoundly deeper than what they were just like a few days prior to your meditation. So couple things, right? One is, people are like, well, like I don't need to drink plant medicine because I do X, Y, and Z, right? Like I do yoga and I do meditation and I do breath work, so I don't need it. Well, it's like the way that I've kind of been thinking about it is that like yoga is great and breath work's great and meditation's great, and they're all kind of like helping each other, right? It's almost like ayahuasca is almost like a supplement, It's just like I don't need to take my multivitamin in the morning, but like it makes me healthier, right? Like we know that it has medicinal benefits, just like it's an anti-inflammatory in and of itself, like heart stop. Like there's so many benefits to drinking it. And then when you start to incorporate it with other practices, it becomes even more powerful. And those practices that you're incorporating it with become even more impactful. So recently I started getting into Kundalini yoga. And one of my friends, she's been like a coach, my friend Kara, she's started teaching me different kriyas. And one of the things I started to notice was that I drank ayahuasca by myself not too long ago. And it was one of these things to like right after I drank ayahuasca when I was doing my kriyas, the visualizations that I was having of this like Kundalini energy, like moving up my spine and like coming out my third eye and out my crown chakra, like all of it was like way, way more vivid. Now I've been doing these kriyas for several weeks now. And right after I drank Aya, it was one of these things to where it was just like, it was like 10 times more powerful. So I guess what I'm getting at is that like, one is that we're integrating all of these various communities and we're showing each person that it's not just a magic bullet. There's the integration. There's just like the overall lifestyle that you have to think about. And then the other activities that you're, assimilating yourself with, that you're affiliated with, before and after are going to be really, really important. And having, kind of a blueprint to pull from is one of the things that you've started putting together as well, right? I mean, there's going to be daily yoga, there's daily breath work, there's all of these different things that are going to be very beneficial to do just in general, but especially after you've done ayahuasca, it's even more important to partake in these activities.
Yeah. And just to give people clarity on the blueprint, you fly into Liberia on Thursday. We moved it to Thursday because we just wanted people to have more time. You fly into Liberia on Thursday, a shuttle picks you up, brings you to Jungle. You settle in. We have our first integration upon your arrival. You already have a virtual integration, but you'll have your first in-person integration on Thursday. Friday, we sit with medicine. Saturday, medicine. Sunday, medicine. Monday, we leave together as a family, and we go to Nosara to ride on. You get an additional integration in between the plant medicine days, and then another one upon arrival at Ride On. So that as you're moving locations and in this new space, which I intentionally chose, you get another integration, and we'll have sunset together, we'll have dinner together, we'll have a cacao ceremony, and just really bringing you into this new community with a new perspective and new connection. From there, a dear friend of mine, Natalie McCartish, who you all will meet soon because we'll have her on the pod as well. She's not only a phenomenal dancer, yogi, Pilates instructor, but she's also a therapist that specializes in trauma and addiction. And I'll let her speak to her own attributes. I don't want to say anything out of turn, but we'll have daily guided meditation, journaling, and a yoga practice every single day. You'll have a breakfast served to you. From there, you'll have some time to decide, do you want to go surfing? Do you want to do a second workout? So we'll have something a little bit more intense, whether it's Pilates or a HIIT style or a beach run, something that I'll be guiding you through. And then we'll have an activity on most of the days, at least 4 of the days, because I do feel like you all need some freedom and some free time, and the community is great just to be able to wander. So a quad ride to the waterfall is on the menu. 2 dinners at Neil and I's favorite locations, one of them right on the beach, one of them on a mountaintop, and then some community dinners and an ecstatic dance party on Saturday. So pool party, ecstatic dance, live DJ, the whole community is invited of Nosara. And that's really for you to feel that chilling beyond skin, energy.
Chrys is spinning, right?
Yeah. I was
super solid.
But yeah. We'll tag all these people, or Neil will tag all these people, so you can kind of explore their pages and how amazing they are. Yes, Chris Hawk, I am shouting you out. You should not have agreed. You said yes. I have it in type DMs. I got it. So just know that I have this incredible experience for you on multi levels. So Natalie's not only there to guide you through certain physical practices and joyful and fun, but she's also there for those who need more integration. So you're actually able to book therapy sessions with her if you feel like you need more time. And you'll get to meet.
Anne is going to be doing integration with us as well, right?
She's going to do the pre, the intra, and then the arrival. And then Natalie will be there. If you literally want to have a session and sit at the beach with her and just talk through some things like that, she's literally there to be of service, because you don't know what Aya is going to reveal to you. You might need more. So she's there to provide more on multi-levels. So nutritionally, physically, fun, music, all the things, you're going to be taken care of. So that gives you a picture of what everything encompasses in the total when you're looking at that number. NFTs are there for you. Neil will provide more education on that for those who want it. We'll be doing some live Zooms where people can come in and do a Q&A, and he literally has educated me. So I move through the world to the best of my ability with childlike wonder. And once you move through the world that way, you're kind of limitless. You're no longer moving with judgment or doubt or pressure or ego. You're moving with a clear curiosity, this pure curiosity. And when you have teachers like Neil who are just so excited to pass on knowledge, you get the knowledge, you pass it on, which is what I get to do now. So I think that gives everybody a clearer picture of what the retreat entails. And moving forward, as you possibly collect your own community, I'm here to facilitate additional retreats or connections for you to create your own experience. And that's part of the ARRAKIS tribe as well. So January 25th kicks it off, 2024. And I'm sure Neil will put all the information. I'll be tagged in the video. You can always reach out directly to me and ask all the questions. I keep telling everybody, ask all the questions. We're here for it. We're excited to talk about it. And we can't wait to be connected. I can't wait to do this podcast in August again, so we can do post Aya, because I can definitely speak to mushrooms and the connection with mushrooms. And I try a lot of things, guys. I try a lot of things, and it's never to escape. It's to enhance.
I think the most unique part about like what you've put together is that, you know, I've said this before, is and there's nothing against like a resort style experience, but you know, like if you go to the Ritz-Carlton in Bali or you go to the Ritz-Carlton in Costa Rica, you're just going to the Ritz-Carlton. You know, it's pretty much one and the same. And if you want to kind of venture out into the jungle, you know, like you're not gonna have all those amenities at your fingertips, but you're gonna have this adventure. One of the interesting parts about what you've put together is this like immersive style adventure with the amenities, without like the carbon copy, just blueprint of just like regular like resort style living, right? Like we do have some fairly luxurious accommodations on the books, especially when it comes to ride on in Nosara. Everything's extremely comfortable, but it's really about being immersed in the culture that we've kind of found ourselves in over the past couple of years with Nosara, with the people and the different businesses and the restaurants, and that's what really makes that place special to me, where you can absolutely, you know, book yourself, you know, a hotel in Nosara, but the fact that you've got these relationships with all of these people who are going to be taking, you know, the guests on these excursions and, you know, making dinners for you and stuff like that, it's really like you can come into this experience not knowing anyone or anything and have everything taken care of, but you still get that level of adventure that you and I experienced, you know, kind of just like exploring everything on our own.
And that's the other point. Like, Neil and I are notorious for just like getting on planes, getting in trucks. I had never heard of Nosara on Wednesday morning, the day before I left. It was a Wednesday morning. I decided to pass on Tulum. I messaged the one person I knew and I'm like, where are you again? She said, it's great. I said, great. See you Friday. Booked a flight. Never even heard of Liberia. Got an SUV because they said I can't have a sedan. Didn't even think twice of the fact that he said you must have an SUV. And then I find myself in the jungle. If anybody decides to explore my page, it's in the highlights. You're going to see me in the SUV. I am driving through rivers, and this is what I love. Like, I will say yes to things and I'll figure it out as long like I can get myself out of things. But for those who don't move through the world that way, this is what we want to give you, because boy, is it a magical gift. So I want everybody to feel what I discovered out there, just wandering through the jungle and turn after turn, hill after hill, just uncovering more and more magic. And when I came back, and this is to speak to the company that I work for, which is Equinox, shout out. And I love so much. I came back for that community because I felt that I had discovered something so amazing that I wanted to come back and share it. And I have not lost that fire. The more work that I do, the more that I become conscious and aware, I just want to keep sharing that and being of service. So it is a blessing and an honor. Every person that keeps signing up for this retreat, it's a moment of like, shock and awe, and a moment of like, no, this is why you're doing the work. This is why you saw that night in Joshua Tree with Neil. Vivid and clear. This is why your past lives and your ancestors have said repeatedly on every mushroom journey, you have been so strong for so long. You have led your people and you will continue to lead them. And that's what we're doing. And that's
it's like you definitely had that vision before, like, I even kind of started explaining to you, about what ARRAKIS was. And I think that gets into something like even deeper, in which, like, we've talked about this before, that like there's this concept, there's this philosophy out there that like if you subscribe to reincarnation, that soul groups actually reincarnate together. So, God forbid I drive my car off of a cliff, and you continue living on for 40 more years. I'm going to continue waiting up for our tribe before I reincarnate again. And even though, like, I might reincarnate into, a family up in Canada, and, your next incarnation is in Florida, at some point it feels as though we're all kind of like meeting up, right? Like that was one of the craziest parts of like my first trip, is like, especially down to Nosara, was that I felt a connection, not just with the land, but with a lot of the people and everybody I meet down there, like the expats, there's the Ticos and the Ticas and stuff like that. And they're just karmically blessed that they were able to grow up in this like utopia kind of environment. But a lot of our friends down there, it's just like everybody had like the wildest story about how they got down. Like nobody intended to go there. Like nobody even heard of the place. They were going down for like a yoga teacher training or a retreat or something like that. Or like, in my case, it was just one of these things to where I wasn't even going to Nosara. I was going to Tamarindo to go to, to go to Rhythmia. And like pretty quickly, like as soon as I started telling people where I was going in Costa Rica, they were like, oh yeah, you're going to want to go to Nosara. Like that's going to be your vibe. If you're into yoga, if you're into surfing, if you're into just health and wellness, like it's just like this amazing place. And I forget I think I was telling you, I've told a few people, one of the really interesting parts about this like vortex that we've found ourselves in, Chrys, is that like I'll consistently meet people that have like spent time in Japan, studying Zen, and then they go to India and they're studying yoga in India, and then and this is for like years, right? And then they find themselves in South America doing dietas with shaman in the Amazon, and then they're building this like community, not like a commune, but like a community within this community, in which like everything is sustainable, and they're drinking plant medicine and they're practicing yoga at Norte. And it's just like these like super, super high vibrational, very awakened, conscious individuals. I'm not saying everybody's enlightened, but everybody seems as though they're on a similar path as you are. One might be like spending more energy on the yogic path, and another might be spending more energy on another path that's congruent with that. They're all going to end up in the same place. But it's one of these things to where like I just never gone someplace where there were so many people like tapped into that frequency that we're on. And when I got down there, one of the things that I noticed was just how out of sync my life had been back in North America. Now I'm living in North America right now and have been for the past year, but there's so many practices that I learned down there. There's so many things that I learned about my diet and my day-to-day activity. Just getting up every single morning and spending time in the sun, right? Like it's the first thing that I do every single day when I'm in Costa Rica. There's so much sunshine for so much of the year down there that it's like such an amazing way to start. I do that now being back here in California. You know, it's like the first thing I'm on the trails with my dog going for a hike, you know, like everybody in town just kind of like makes this pilgrimage in Nosara to the ocean every single morning. It's like everybody's like going to the Ganges, everybody's surfing together. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's one of these things that like, I think just kind of like help promote like this whole idea that we're kind of formulating here.
The bigger thing with another purpose in the retreat is that not everybody can live that life every day. So it's also providing everybody with tools, because we are in this world and you're going to start to feel and realize I am not of this world. I'm in this world, but I'm not of this world. Like I have a corporate existence that allows me to still be unique and woo-woo. Thank goodness they help celebrate that for me. But it's like having the tools to be able to say, these are the things I have to do. These are not the things I am. Because not everybody has the luxury of waking up naturally to the sunrise and walking barefoot to the beach. But once you experience that, you can create rituals within your own space and in your own life and realize these are my controllables, these are my uncontrollables, and really designate like what you can do on a daily practice to keep yourself growing and evolving, and then making the time for the bigger experience like this retreat. So just know that as we talk about this magical existence, I am very aware, and Neil and I were talking about this before we hit like play and record, and he's just like kind of, him hearing about my day and my life makes his brain explode a little bit, because I have a lot of lanes that I'm doing at the same time. So to be able to cultivate skills and tools out, like, you know, it's not always about what you do, but it's also about how you do it. So being able to have tools to really recognize, oh no, I'm in this world, but I don't have to be of this world. I can take a step back behind it and still be an evolving spiritual entity, you know, not having to say like, oh, I'm limited by my human existence. No, you can flourish in your spiritual existence. So yeah. I would love to be all woo-woo all the time. I tell everybody all the time, I'd love to be in a loincloth on top of a mountain every single day. But here we are. So I have like a bigger purpose. And even if it's one person or 100 people or more people who watch this podcast, like my purpose is to serve. Like I'm here to serve. So if any of this speaks to you, if any of this resonates, reach out to Neil, reach out to me. It won't be the last time you hear me. We have a lot of guests that we're going to bring on to just, again, facilitate tools for you like breath work, meditation, astral projection, everything that might sound like way out there to things that you think, oh, I could do that every day. I can make that little switch. Little changes lead to big evolution. So
yeah, and you know what's really powerful too is that like a lot of it is just learning healthy habits. You know, like even though maybe you can't walk barefoot to the beach every single day if you live in, you know, Midtown Manhattan, but like at the same time, if you can cultivate a breathwork practice, you might not need Xanax. You know, like not having like certain toxicities in your life now open you up to being able to do other stuff and be more receptive to other things, right? So I think that's one of the big takeaways too. And again, like ayahuasca not being a magic bullet, it can kind of show you that there's a more holistic approach to life, and that there's a Hopi saying, they made a whole movie around it. It's called Kawanascatsi, and it was made in like the 1980s. It was like an art film. And Kawanascatsi means life out of balance. And I really believe that like a lot of us, most of us, myself included, in North America, you know, prior to a few years ago, my life was really, really out of balance. Even though, you know, I had certain practices in my life, they weren't necessarily prioritized, where now there's like, there's more of a hierarchy with these things where like I can't get to the other parts of my day until I do like the essentials. And it actually makes me more efficient in these other areas. And that's another thing that for some of us, we're super blessed that like we're not coming to ayahuasca with like, I've never been to war before, like I've never lost a child before. I don't have like crazy addictions, but there were just certain things that just weren't serving me in my life that ayahuasca started to like kind of like just like push out and then encourage these other healthy habits to come into my life, to where now it's like, really don't want to have a glass of wine tonight because like I'm going to have to go into my meditation in an hour, and it's just not like conducive to have like it just doesn't work. Right. So it's amazing to see like how like one little decision that you can do introduces like all of these people and activities and like healthy habits that really do change your life. And a lot of that has to do with the whole package, right? Like it's not just plant medicine. It's plant medicine for sure, but it's like, what does that encourage? Like, what kind of relationships does that encourage? What kind of activities does that encourage? It starts to change everything and rewire the way that we're like perceiving this reality that we find ourselves immersed in this incarnation,
Yeah.
So
It's going to clear a lot of pathways for a lot of people. So for the woo-woo, we call it samskara. So like in yoga, it's like you are a free-flowing river of energy. What happens is that through the course of our life, we have sand, and then we have rocks, and then we have pebbles, and then we have boulders of things that we're holding on to. So part of this is learning how to let go of these samskaras, these blockages, these traumas, these experiences, whatever you want to label them. They're just blocking your natural flow of energy. So we just want to open up those pathways. And I say we, I mean me, I mean Neil, I mean all the spearheads of the ARRAKIS tribe, the community that we're growing on Discord. And all of this is on a virtual level, on an indigenous level, on a daily level, so that you have tools all the way through. I'm so fired up. It's just going to be so amazing. So if any of this speaks to you, for those who are being kind enough to share your time and energy with us, running our mouths about something we really believe in, like we really move from a place of gratitude because your time is very important. You're not going to get it back. So listening to, over an hour, we're wrapping it up right now. But if anything speaks to you, like send the DM. We're just sitting here. We're not that busy. Like I would get people saying like, oh, I'm sure you're so busy. I'm like, I'm never too busy for a sincere question of someone who wants growth and expansion. Like I'm 100% here for it. There are no silly questions when you're desirous for growth and you're curious. Be a child, be curious, ask the questions, no judgment, no ego, no pressure.
Yeah. So one of the, just, to touch on the retreat one more time is that essentially Chrys has put together dates in January that are on the calendar right now for anybody who's part of the community. The NFTs that ARRAKIS is sending out, they're actually good for a couple of years for the in real life events. So this first series of journeys that Chrys is putting together with Om and then with Nosara and stuff like that is kind of like the inaugural journey that we're taking everybody on. But there's going to be additional dates on the calendar through 2024 and 2025. And depending on how many people want like the full scale adventures and, farm to table food and logistics taken care of, there's going to be more of those. But this one in January is going to be pretty special because it's like the height of the high season. It's like the best time of the year to be in Costa Rica is really like January, February, March. It's the dry season. Yeah, it's the time. So
it's really just good waterfalls. They're not dried out yet. We might catch the turtles. Like it's magical. Like it really is. Very, very special. Very special. We can't wait to like give everybody in real life hugs and roll around in the sand and dance under the moonlight. And it's going to be Like,
dance parties.
You want to run to Nosara right now. I can see it in your eyes.
I have so many of my friends that are like, they've moved down there now, and you know, like some of our friends like are like making films about what we're doing, like Dan, and you know, Kimberly's still down there. She decided not to go back to Utah, so you'll see her. Tara, you know, Tara Tigris, she's been doing a tantra retreat down there in Nosara. So it's just
tag all these people, right? We need to tag
yeah.
Kimberly and Kara and Tara, Danny Keenez, who'll be doing breathwork for us, Natalie McCartish, Chris Hawk, which is going to be playing the most magical music for us. I love you. Chung and Ride On and Gadlitos, who will be leading our excursions, Everyday Nosara. We got like a surf team. Tommy, I'm coming for you. Yeah, I'm going to take you in this too. So we got such an amazing group of people that are just like this. They're just waiting for you to get to the jungle. So
yeah, come join us. All right, Chrys, it was amazing chatting with you, and we're gonna put more of these on the calendar. But this was a great first talk to kind of introduce everything that we've been working on.
Love you.
Talk to you soon. Love you too.